but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's corruption.
Kind of wild, and this is going to lead us into a conversation about taxes and the IRS and the money we're throwing at it and just the clown show that has become our government, especially from a monetary and fiscal standpoint.
There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these pieces.
Please educate me on
Sure.
what
So an audit
the
is
difference
exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there.
Literally just said the fact that the DOD cannot pass an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. Cannot pass an audit. Wild.
So
what is
now
it
is a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
Yeah.
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are
100%
not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think?
That it was wasted. And there was probably fraud and
this
abuse.
Is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
an
So defensive.
$850 billion
So
budget
defensive.
to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went. Like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see.
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good, we should be talking. I mean,
Well,
I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother
It really
me. I think
bothers
it's all
everyone.
Connected.
Okay.
I think
tell
when
me that story. Tell me how you're thinking about that.
When I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry.
It obviously is.
If like
100%.
If that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird.
She's so incredibly defensive. Like, she had no good comeback. We have to do, like, just because we can't account for things doesn't mean that it's a waste. That's pretty close to the definition. I mean, he brought up the analogy of, if I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me where you put it, well, waste it. And then her argument is along the lines of, well, hang on, because we didn't audit it, you can't call it a waste because we didn't audit it, so we don't know if it was wasted. It might have been used properly. That's a crazy argument to have. And also the sad thing is here, if you're looking at the Department of Defense, the $1 billion that he used as just kind of an example, that's an understatement. In real time right now, I believe it's the Pentagon, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, cannot account for over $1 trillion. That's crazy. And they're just shrugging their shoulders and be like, that's a good one. Don't ask us about it, but it's a good question, and we will get back to you in a couple business days. Like, That's insane. And then it's just so defensive. And as soon as you get defensive, whether maybe they understand it at a different level, maybe the general populace is missing something here, but as soon as you get defensive like that, the average person, as Jon Stewart alluded to, living on planet Earth, all of a sudden, we all just think you're getting defensive when we're asking you legitimate questions about where our money's going. It seems like waste, fraud, greed, collusion. Like when you get defensive, it's like, oh, you're clearly hiding something. Blows my absolute mind that this isn't a skit. This is real life, allegedly in the most powerful country in the world. Absolutely blows my mind.